Hey guys, so this is going to be opening 043. The 43rd opening that I'd like to share with you is the Rose opening. So, named after the World Othello Champion 2001, Brian Rose from the USA. I think this opening is perhaps one of the three main branches that you could play, playing as black. And of course, I think out of the three, the variations that are in this rose opening are actually relatively easier to play, perhaps, but definitely there are many variations that you can initiate. So I think this opening leads to certain variations, which I'll cover in the next few videos, which are actually fairly intuitive. And I think many beginners and novice players who actually just pick up the game, they actually like to play one of the variations within this rose opening. So generally, it does allow you to actually form a centralized shape. You probably take on a slight early disadvantage based on perfect play is probably a -2 line. I think some of the lines can probably set counterintuitive traps for white, but if they don't fall for it, then it could probably be potentially fairly risky, and probably you need to go really deep in the book to actually support that particular opening so that you can actually limit the number of discs that you might lose in the situation whereby white actually knows the book. And I think rose opening is one that most people would actually know the opening fairly deep as white, perhaps. So you can see that some of the openings that I covered, at least for the main parent branch of openings, the sequence is relatively short. But for this one, it's fairly deep because almost probably everyone would actually know this opening fairly well. So let's go through the sequence. Black playing f5 to start with. It's perpendicular, and of course, the three main branches usually you see is c3 going to tiger the rose bill, c4 a cat variation with a potential variation to other openings such as maybe the Italian opening or Sakaguchi opening. And then, of course, right now we want to jump into the rose branch of openings, which is c5 over here, and then white would just cut back to centralize, and over here without a clear way to actually centralize back for black, black actually plays a quiet move, which is a diagonal chip over to establish this point disc at e3 to just try to jump in for that centralization. And of course white just makes that diagonal cut to maintain this somewhat jagged but centralized shape over here. So this is c6, and black would then regroup with sort of like a crisscross, with black earlier on taking e3 to cross on one side, and then black basically crosses back on the other side to form that compact shape of these four discs, and probably with the two at the side, which are probably more susceptible for white to flip and sort of give up. And of course, black goes to d3 over here, and white regroups to f6 to sort of like just jump in to rejoin the discs together. F3 would actually be another opening that I'll cover in the future videos, but for this video's sake, the rose opening actually entails white going to f6, which is also by far, if you just observe some players playing online, f6 is definitely by far the most popular option. And then g5 is probably the second more popular option. So I almost don't really see many players playing the other options that much. So white going to f6, and then black, without a very straightforward option, would just jump in for the center shape with the disc that he flips being surrounded by all the existing discs, perhaps. So this makes it a fairly good move to centralize and to just play small. And of course, white does not want to allow black to actually have e6 as a point disc to regroup back to c4. White would then respond to d7 as the book move to form that compact shape and also keeping to his side. So this essentially is actually the rose opening sequence. So this is where the rose opening starts. And of course, one of the variations that I mentioned was quite popular among the players who just started off learning Othello. It would be the flat variation. You then go on to play g4, and then white goes on to play c4, and then black goes to g5. So that is the flat variation that involves very intuitive moves in a sense that both players will just simply exchange tempo and just rotate. So it's also called the rotating flat, if I'm not wrong. So we'll cover that opening in the future videos. So I hope you like this video on the rose opening, and I'll look forward to sharing with you more rose opening variations.